The sea was restless that morning. Thick fog curled around the fishing trawler as Captain Jake and his crew navigated the icy waters off the Alaskan coast. The wind howled through the rigging, sending shivers down their spines. It was just another routine day, until deckhand Tommy spotted something unusual. "Captain, there's something in the water," he shouted, pointing to a dark shape bobbing between the waves. At first it looked like driftwood, but as the boat drifted closer, the crew's blood ran cold. It wasn't debris. It was a bear. And it was drowning. ***. The massive creature thrashed weakly, its fur slick with seawater. It was exhausted, barely able to keep its head above the surface. The realization hit hard. If they did nothing, the bear would sink beneath the waves forever. "How did it get out here?" Tommy muttered, eyes wide. There were no islands nearby, no reason for a bear to be so far from shore. The brutal ocean had claimed many lives before, and now, it was about to take another. The sailors exchanged uneasy glances. It was a wild animal. Dangerous. Powerful. And completely helpless. ***. Captain Jake tightened his grip on the wheel. "We can't leave it to die." "But it's a bear." Ryan, the first mate, protested. "What if it attacks us?" Jake didn't hesitate. "Then we figure it out. But we're not letting it drown." The crew scrambled into action, tossing out ropes, trying to guide the bear toward the boat. But the animal was too weak to grab hold. Time was running out. Then, Jake made a daring decision. "Get the harnesses," he ordered. "We're pulling it aboard." Ryan gaped at him. "You're telling me we're about to haul a full-grown bear onto this boat?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you." No one argued. Against every instinct, against every fear, they prepared to attempt the impossible, rescue a wild bear in the middle of the ocean. Little did they know, what happened next would change their lives forever. The freezing wind whipped across the deck as the sailors prepared for one of the most daring rescues of their lives. A full-grown bear, weak, struggling, but still a wild predator, was fighting for survival in the open ocean. One wrong move, and their mission could turn deadly. "Ropes aren't working," Tommy yelled over the crashing waves. The bar's body sank lower in the water. Its movement slowed. It was giving up. Captain Jake knew they had seconds, maybe minutes, to act. He made the call. "We're pulling it aboard." Ryan, the first mate, stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "Do you hear yourself? It's a bear. It could rip us apart." Jake didn't waver. "It's exhausted. It won't attack us. But if we don't move fast, it won't survive." The crew scrambled. They grabbed a harness, normally used for lifting heavy fishing gear, and carefully lowered it toward the struggling bear. But getting a bear into a harness in the middle of a stormy ocean was easier said than done. Tommy and another deckhand, Lucas, strapped themselves in and leaned over the edge of the boat, reaching for the bear. "Come on, buddy," Tommy muttered, as if the bear could understand. The bear barely reacted. It was too weak to fight, too tired to resist. Then, it happened, With one last desperate effort, the bear's massive paw latched onto the harness. "We got it!" Tommy shouted. The sailors pulled with everything they had. Muscles strained, sweat mixed with sea spray, and the boat rocked dangerously under the shifting weight. Inch by inch, they lifted the bear out of the water. The harness groaned under the bear's bulk. The crew held their breath. "Almost there," Jake shouted. With one final heave, the sailors dragged the bear onto the deck. It collapsed in a soaking, shivering heap. No one moved. No one breathed. They had just hauled a wild bear onto their boat. And then, its eyes flickered open. What happened next was something no one on that ship would ever forget. Would you like Chapter 3 next? Grinning face with big eyes. The bear lay motionless on the deck, water pooling around its massive frame. Its fur was soaked, its breath shallow. The sailors stood frozen, unsure of what to do next. Captain Jake slowly stepped forward. Every instinct told him to be cautious. This was still a wild animal. "Is it even alive?" Tommy whispered. The answer came in a slow, labored breath from the bear's nostrils. It was alive, ***, but barely, ***. Ryan, still gripping the rope, exhaled sharply. Now what? We can't exactly keep a bear on the ship. First, we keep it warm, Jake said. He grabbed an old tarp and draped it over the animal. And we pray it doesn't wake up angry. The crew worked quickly, careful to keep their distance. They wrapped dry blankets around the bear's shivering body and set a bucket of fish nearby, just in case it woke up hungry. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then, the bear stirred, Tommy took a step back, his heart hammering. The crew reached for whatever they could, fishing poles, crates, anything that might protect them. The bear's eyes flickered open. It lifted its heavy head, blinking at the strange faces around it. Then, something unbelievable happened. Instead of panicking or attacking, the bear did something no one expected. It nudged its massive head against Captain Jake's arm. The deck fell silent. Jake didn't move. He barely breathed. The bear, this wild, untamed creature, was showing gratitude, Tommy's voice broke the silence. Did it just, thank you? Jake swallowed hard, staring into the bear's deep, dark eyes. I think it did. No one spoke. No one dared to move too fast. But in that moment, every sailor on that ship realized they had done something truly extraordinary. The bear wasn't just a rescue mission. It was a life forever connected to theirs. But what none of them knew was that this was just the beginning. Because months later, in the same waters, something even more unbelievable would happen. Would you like Chapter 4 next? Grinning face with big eyes. The sea had long since swallowed the memory of that day. The bear had been safely transported to shore by wildlife rescuers, and the sailors had returned to their routine. But something about that rescue never left them. Captain Jake often found himself staring at the waves, thinking about the bear that had nudged him in gratitude. Was it still alive? Had it made it back to the wild? Then, months later, fate had an answer. A shadow on the shore. It was a crisp autumn evening when the crew set sail once more along the same Alaskan coastline. The wind was calm, the sky a deep indigo as the sun dipped below the horizon. Tommy, leaning against the railing, suddenly froze. His breath caught in his throat. Guys? You might want to see this. The crew rushed to his side. At first, they saw nothing but the rocky shoreline. But then, movement, a massive bear stood at the water's edge. Could just be any bear, Ryan muttered. But the way it stood there, watching them, made every sailor uneasy. Captain Jake grabbed the binoculars, his hands trembling slightly. He adjusted the focus, then his heart nearly stopped. The bear had a distinct scar on its shoulder. A scar from when it had scraped against the ship's edge during the rescue. It was him. The same bear. Tommy let out a low whistle. No way, it remembers us. The bear lifted its enormous paw. And then flipped wave. Not a frantic motion. Not an accident. A deliberate, slow lift of its paw, as if saying hello. Silence swept over the deck. Ryan blinked. Did that bear just wave at us? No one spoke. No one could. Jake, gripping the railing, finally found his voice. Yeah, he said softly. I think it did. A sign of something more? For a long moment, the bear simply stood there, staring at them, its eyes calm, almost knowing. Then, just as silently as it had appeared, it turned and disappeared into the trees. The crew stood frozen, processing what they had just seen. That's impossible, Tommy murmured. Jake exhaled, shaking his head. Maybe some bonds aren't meant to be understood, just felt. That night, as the ship rocked gently on the water, none of the sailors could sleep. Because deep down, they all knew this wasn't the last time they would see the bear. And the next time? It might not be alone. Would you like Chapter 5 next? Grinning face with big eyes. The ocean breeze carried an eerie silence that night. Even after the bear had disappeared into the trees, the crew couldn't shake the feeling that something was unfinished. Tommy paced the deck, replaying the moment in his head. Bears don't just recognize people like that, right? Ryan scoffed, still unsettled. And they definitely don't wave. Captain Jake hadn't said much since the encounter. He stood near the railing, staring at the shoreline, deep in thought. Something didn't feel right. And then the growl came. Not from the sea. From the shore. Tommy's head snapped up. Tell me you heard that. The crew scrambled to the edge of the boat. The trees rustled in the darkness. Then, **movement, **. The bear had returned. But this time, it wasn't alone. Emerging from the shadows behind it were two small cubs. The sailors gasped. Are those? Ryan whispered. Jake's throat tightened. Cubs. She's a mother. The truth about the rescue. Realization crashed over them like a tidal wave. The bear they had saved months ago wasn't just any bear. She was a mother trying to return to her young. That's why she was in the ocean, Tommy muttered. She must have been searching for food, or got caught in a current. She wasn't just fighting for her life, **, she was fighting to get back to them, **. Silence. The weight of what they had done hit them all at once. They hadn't just saved one life. They had saved three. An unspoken connection, **. The mother bear watched them, her dark eyes calm but knowing. The cubs stayed close, their tiny frames barely visible in the dim light. Then, **, the mother did it again, **. She lifted her massive paw. Another wave. But this time, she wasn't saying hello. She was saying thank you. A lump formed in Jake's throat. He had been a sailor for decades, seen storms that could swallow ships whole. But nothing, **, nothing, **, had ever moved him like this. She remembers, Tommy whispered. The mother bear let out a soft grunt, then turned and disappeared into the forest once more, this time with her family. And the sailors? They stood there, knowing they had been part of something far greater than just a rescue. They had changed a life. And in return, that life had changed them, **. But what none of them knew was that this wasn't the end of their story. Because one day, in the most unexpected way, the bear would return once more. Months passed, and winter settled over the Alaskan waters. The sailors had long returned to their routine, but none of them had forgotten the bear and her cubs. Captain Jake often found himself staring at the shoreline, wondering if they would ever see her again. But as time went on, he accepted the truth, **, some moments are meant to live only in memory, **. Until one fateful morning. A familiar shadow, **. The sun had barely risen when Tommy, shivering in the cold air, spotted something near the shore. Captain, you're going to want to see this. Jake grabbed his binoculars, expecting to see nothing but the endless stretch of frozen coastline. But then, **, his breath caught in his throat, **. She was back. The mother bear stood at the water's edge, just as she had before. But this time, something was different. The cubs were gone. Instead, at her feet, lay a fish. Jake's heart pounded. Is she leaving that for us? Tommy whispered. Ryan scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief. That's impossible. Bears don't do that. And yet, there it was, a fresh fish, carefully placed on the icy shore. The ultimate sign of gratitude. The mother bear let out a low, rumbling sound, not a growl, not a warning, but something softer. A farewell. Then, with one last, lingering look at the ship, she turned and disappeared into the trees for the final time. The sailors stood in silence, overwhelmed by the impossible truth. She had brought them a gift. A token of gratitude. A sign that she had never forgotten them. Jake swallowed hard, gripping the railing as the bear vanished into the wilderness. She didn't just survive, he murmured. She thrived. And she wanted us to know. No one spoke. There was nothing left to say. Because sometimes, the most powerful bonds aren't spoken. They're simply understood. And though they would never see her again, they knew one thing for certain, **, she would always remember them, **. Just as they would always remember her.